Hello again and welcome to the War 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now, before we get into today's video, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Baz Dan for sending in some awesome pictures of his incredible Talon Deathstrike / Manticore. Looks absolutely fantastic. Baz has sent in some other pictures over the last few months of his Talon sort of army. It looks absolutely fantastic. I always look forward to seeing more and more pictures, and I have to say, Baz, you've absolutely outdone yourself this time. Just looks incredible, and the fact that you can swap out the Manticore stuff and Deathstrike stuff just looks incredible. For anyone that is curious, Baz has given a sort of short breakdown of what he combined, what parts he used. So it's a 1:48 scale Scud Elbrus kit merged with the Games Workshop Deathstrike / Manticore kit. So there you go. Looks absolutely fantastic. Really impressive work there, Baz. Can't wait to see some of the other stuff that you come up with. If anyone else has got any cool pictures that they want to send in for me to use my videos, please post them on my Facebook page. There will be a link down in the description below. So, without further ado, let's crack on with today's video. So today, guys, what I want to do is start a new series of videos, and it's going to be almost like a Imperial Guard New Codex wishlisting series. Another way you could look at it is how I would make some changes to some of the Imperial Guard units and the way that some of the Imperial Guard stuff works to make it more effective, and not just more effective because obviously it's easy just to pile buffs on top of stuff, but to also make it balanced and to make it feel like it should play. A lot of the problems with some of the guard units is they don't feel right. And there's also a few bits that I want to talk about where there's old things that have been taken out that I definitely think want to be brought back in. So some of these videos are going to be quite long if it's a thing that needs a lot of tweaking. And some of the videos are going to be relatively short if it's just like a cool new idea. But hopefully it'll be really popular, and you never know. You never know. I mean, I don't expect anything like this, guys, and I'm not promising anything either. But you never know. Someone at GW may stumble across this series of videos that I'm going to do, and they may even put some of them into the new Guard Codex. Maybe the Codex is already written and it's too late to change it now. Maybe these ideas could be included in a later supplement or FAQ. Maybe they'll never be included and it'll just be some cool wish listing ideas. But hell, it'd be cool if some of this stuff could get into the new Codex. It'd be amazing. But maybe it'll just be a good bit of brainstorming. So that's the new series of videos that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to try and just sort of release these every day. I'm going to do a big sort of recording session, just release as many of these as possible. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Of course, guys, it goes without saying, put your ideas down in the comment section below. This is, I don't have all the ideas. In fact, I have a very small brain and have very few ideas. But on a serious note, guys, anything that we put down, anything that you guys put down in the comment section below, I read all the comments, and also I love to hear some of the great ideas that you guys come up with. Because one thing I've noticed with Guard, before we get into the video, I know a long bit of rambling preamble, but one thing I've always found with Guard players is we don't expect things to be overpowered. In fact, we prefer things to be balanced. And I know that you guys have come up with loads of great, just amazing balanced ideas, how we can tweak some of our units here and there to make them just more fun for us and for the opponent. Without further ado, let's take a look at the first video in this series, which is going to be the Lehman Russ battle tank. How can we fix it? So the Lehman Russ battle tank is an absolutely iconic unit of the Imperial Guard. Goes without saying that it is probably the unit that gets most Guard players into the faction. It's just this big slab of metal bristling with firepower. Enough firepower that even orcs don't get as many guns on their basic vehicles as we do. And so that makes an orc player, a single solitary tear comes out of their eye. But it's true. I mean, all those special buggies and whatnot that they've got doesn't match up to just a good old Lehman Russ in terms of the number of guns you can stick on this thing. You can have two sponsons, a hull gun, you can have a turret gun. Sometimes that turret gun can have two barrels. If you like an exterminator autocannon, you can put a heavy stubber on it, and you can even put a hunter killer missile on it. You know, you can just go nuts. And I'm sure there's some wacky Forge World things out there where you can also get a coaxial stubber or stormbolter. So, you know, this thing is meant to have a lot of firepower, and it's also meant to be tough as hell. One of the big things that you read about in the fluff with the Lehman Russ is that, you know, it's not the best tank out there. You know, there are other tanks with better technology, fancy shields, crazier weapons. But what the Lehman Russ has is thick slabs of armor and really nice, awesome firepower. So that's the base. That's what we want to have. That's what we want to have. We want to have a decent fire support unit that can take a punch to the face. What do we currently have? Well, unfortunately, guys, edition after edition rolls by, and the Lehman Russ always just seems to be too fragile. There was this brief period at the beginning of 8th edition, the glory days, brief period at the beginning of 8th edition, where they were, you know, they were durable. They were like, that toughness 8, it meant something. You know, they were durable. And they had decent firepower. They were okay. And then obviously you had back in the days of sort of 5th edition, when tanks were, you know, were good. Tanks were, you know, Lehman Russes were pretty decent slabs of armor. But the problem that the Lehman Russ has tended to have is that in previous editions it could always be one-shotted. Someone just gets a melter gun on it, it dies. That's sad. Although not super easy if you're, you know, if you're shooting its front, when it had front armor value, and you could only, even with a melter gun, you could only damage its armor on a 6 on the front because it was really tough. And that was cool, right? So Lehman Russ has always, but it has always had that risk of being one-shotted. But now looking into sort of 8th edition, and you know, middle end of 8th edition, beginning of 9th edition, it just dies too easily. It is too fragile. It's the number one problem. It's too fragile. The second problem with the Lehman Russ that I find is it doesn't do enough damage. It doesn't do enough damage. Now you think with all that firepower, it's going to be doing a lot of damage, right? But then you actually math hammer it, and you're like, okay, so let's take the battle cannon, standard Lehman Russ battle cannon. Let's take a battle cannon. Let's roll 2d6 for the shots. Okay, so let's be nice to ourselves. It gets 8 shots, pretty good. But then it only hits on 4s. Okay, it only hits on 4s. That's not ideal. So you're only going to hit with 4 of those shots. So straight away, you're like, oof, not as good, you know. Now I can't wipe out basic squad tactical marines. I can't do it, not in one go. You know, my big, potentially 200-point tank can't even wipe out a squad of tactical marines in one round of shooting. Fair enough. Then you got a wound. So let's say you're wounded about 3. Then the marine player gets an armor save. Now, even if he's just out butt naked and you're not in cover, he's only going to fail 2 of the saves statistically, and so you kill 2 marines. Now, even with these, you know, and that's 2 tactical marines. Then you've got the fact that it's D3 damage. Everything's going up to 2 wounds now. So either you can definitely kill 2 scouts, or you might kill 2 tactical marines / intercessors, but there's always that chance. How many times has it happened to you? I'd love for people to put down in the comment section below. How many times has it happened when you roll that D3 damage on that 2-wound model? And statistically, you should get the 2, but you get the 1. And then your second shot, yeah, it's gone through. You don't even need to roll the damage for it. It's only going to do, even if you get 3 wounds, it doesn't matter. You're only going to do that other wound, that intercessor. And so the end result is that your Lehman Russ battle tank killed a marine. Nowadays, it'll be a tactical marine or it'll be an intercessor. You know, they're all getting 2 wounds, aren't they? So, even if you just took it basic battle cannon, under the current rule, under the current points, it's like 170 points. And it's only going to do what, like, kill a marine? It's not really worth it. So, you have this thing where it dies too easily, because the lethality, toughness 8 doesn't mean anything anymore. It hasn't got an invulnerable save. So it goes. And then you also have this thing where it doesn't do any damage. Okay, so what happens? Okay, what happens is everyone ignores the basic Lehman Russ and takes tank commanders. Which look, I'm not asking Games Workshop to nerf anything, okay? Please, God, no. But there's a reason why everyone just takes 3 tank commanders. And even at the end of 8th edition, when you can take a basic Russ with a plasma cannon, you know, with an execution plasma cannon, for 130 points, people still weren't taking them. For the exact scenario that I outlined. Because even then, they're still only going to kill 1 or 2 Marines. You know, even then. So, they've tried the whole, let's make them really, really cheap and see if Guard players take them. And they took them a bit, but you always took your 3 tank commanders first, and then you took maybe another Lehman Russ after that. Okay? So the solution can't be just to make them cheaper. It doesn't work. Now, at the moment, everyone's taking tank commanders, and I think what should happen is, if I don't think really every Guard army should have 3 tank commanders in it. I wouldn't be. I would if we want to address that whole 3 tank commander thing. I would say you can only take 1 per battalion, unless it's a spearhead detachment, in which case you can take 2. Both your HQ choices could be in a spearhead could be a Lehman Russ tank commander. That I think would be fine, because that way, if you want to get 3, you have to take, you'll have to spend 3 CP to get it potentially, or however many it is for a spearhead. So that's one way of doing it. But then you can't just kick the crutch out from underneath the tank guard players. I know a lot of tank guard players that go no, Mordian Glory Games Workshop will only listen to this bit of the video, and now we're gonna get a tank commander taken away from us, and now we have nothing, and now mech guard is dead. I know. So if you are a Games Workshop employee here and you are stumbling across the video, please continue listening. I have ideas to fix it. So the first thing is, you don't want every tank commander to be every Lehman Russ to be a tank commander. Okay, but you have to be able to balance it out. Okay, so there should be a stratagem which costs 1/3 CP. Okay, and it should be upgrade 1 tank squadron in your army to veteran tank crews. And it gets ballistic skill 3+. That should be it. Now, it's 1 CP for 1 Lehman Russ, or 3 CP for more than 1 Lehman Russ. Okay, or you have it 1 CP, 2 CP, 3 CP. I don't really care, but I'm basing this off how they did the the relics. You can pay 1 for an extra CP, or you can pay 3 CP for an extra 2. And I'm kind of okay with that if they want to roll that out for the tank squadron as well. I'm okay with that. Okay, it's just 1 CP, and you can upgrade 1 of your tanks for veteran tank crew. That's one thing you should do. Second thing you should do. Okay, because the reason why people, just to be clear, the reason why everyone is taking tank commanders is because they have ballistic skill 3+. That is the reason people are taking them. Because a fire support unit, without that, it's just dog shit. Okay, now I would take this veteran tank crew stratagem, and I would make it so you can apply it to any squadron of vehicles. Any. You could apply it to a squadron of sentinels. You could apply it to a squadron of hellhounds. And you might be like, why would you give hellhounds an extra ballistic skill? Why would you do that? Well, because you can take devil dogs as well. Devil dogs is a unit which will never see the light of day. It has a melter cannon, a really cool melter cannon, and it will never see the light of day in the current 8th edition hitting system. Because it is a D3 shot weapon that only hits on 4s. It's useless. I don't care if it's assault, it's useless. No one's going to pay 100 points for maybe 2 melter shots that hit on a 4. No one's going to pay 100 points per melter hit a turn. They're not going to do it. Okay? Doesn't matter. So you make it so you can take a squadron of devil dogs and you can give them all an extra ballistic skill. Ballistic skill 3+. squadron of sentinels, squadron of hydras, squadron of basilisks. It doesn't matter. The key is you can take one squadron and you can upgrade it for 1 CP, 2 CP, 3 CP, or 1/3 CP. I don't care. That's the first thing you do, and you make it a once per game stratagem. Before the battle, once per game, have to write it on your list. Balanced. So you can, if you want to go all tanks, you can take one Lehman Russ tank commander per detachment, maybe 2 in a spearhead, but I'm not totally committed to that idea, maybe 2. But you take your one tank commander, and you can take your squadron of veteran Lehman Russes. Okay, if you want to, I think it should either cost CP. I think it should cost CP, realistically, and then people will take a regular Lehman Russ and they'll upgrade it. Okay, that's how I would do it. Because Guard are a faction that likes CP, so we like to fit into a single detachment. So you're typically going to see someone only take the one tank commander now. Great. And then you'll see them take the three veteran Lehman Russes or the 3 veteran basilisks. Great, and it works. You can put it on any vehicle. Maybe it's a standalone Manticore. They come taking squadrons. Upgrade it. It's a veteran Manticore. Veteran Death Strike crew. You might be like, oh, veteran Death Strike. They're only going to give Death Strike to the best crew. So that's the first thing that you do. That's the first way of improving the Russ. All right. You give the ability for veteran tankers. They can't reroll ones. There's no offers, no one there ordering them. All right, you take your tank commander to re-roll. He can't tell himself to re-roll ones, but he could tell. I mean, that's the thing from the thing. I think tank commanders should still be able to tell themselves to re-roll ones because tank commander's ordering his crew. But whatever, Games Workshop change core things like that. They may do, they may not. But the point is, you can't just take away the tank commanders without bringing something else in. Okay. Now, if they want to make it cost points and CP, just don't go ridiculous. But I'm fine. 10 points per tank. Or 5 points. It just gets complicated like that. Just make it 1 CP or 3 CP. Easy. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing you need to do to fix the Lehman Russ. This is kind of like a bit of seasoning. It's not essential. Second thing you need to do is fix the Lehman Russ. Is to again add more ways of adding this ballistic skill thing in, and you want to change the Auto Perfector's command tank stratagem. Currently it's 2 CP for a leadership buff. It's just not worth it. However, you should be able to spend 2 CP for an Auto Perfector's command tank. It should be able to be given to one single vehicle, not a squadron. One single vehicle. Okay, it should cost 1 CP. And I'm even inclined to say it could stay at 2 CP. Okay, 2 CP, and you make the tank have the leadership 9 or a buff. Maybe he lets people re-roll orders as well, re-roll leadership as well, and that tank has a 3+ ballistic skill. But the stipulation is you've got to model it. Games Workshop, you want to charge us 10 victory points for our model. You want to give 10 victory points to models that are based, an army that's based. Add that into the rule. If you're going to take an Auto Perfector's command tank, you've got to model it as such. You've got to have a commissar sticking at the top, or you've got to paint the thing black. I would stipulate that. I'd be totally fine with that. Balanced. You've got to put the effort in. You can't just say that tank is a commissar tank unless you show it's a commissar tank. You can't say it is one. Even if it's a relatively simple thing like a transfer or something or commissar sticking at the top. I don't care. You got to show it. Okay. Now, like I said, you might want to spend, your 1 CP for your veteran tank crew. You take your tank commander, and then you have your commissar tank. Or you might be able to, you might argue, this command tank thing should be once per game as well, once per pre-game. You might say, well, then people could end up with more. You're saying, oh man, but then people could end up with like loads of ballistic skill 3+ tanks. Yeah? And what? You've not improved the durability in any way. You've just incentivized people to actually take regular Lehman Russes. And you've incentivized them to not just turn up with 3 tank commanders and break the narrative every single effing game. Okay? So that's one way of fixing it. That's option A. You increase the damage output. If these things are just going to die relatively easily, which they do, that's one way of doing it. Okay, so, and you might be like, oh, that's so much like CP. That's so much Bliss Skill 3+ you've given to the guys. You know, they could turn up with 3 tank commanders, veteran crews, and a commissar tank. It's like, well, firstly, that's 7 tanks. Firstly, doing that. Secondly, which is like the entire army under the current point system. All it's going to take is for one person to run across the field and bad touch those tanks, and they're screwed. Okay, so firstly, if someone does want to take a whole army Bliss Skill 3+ tanks, they're not going to be taking much else in that army. Nothing, you know, with all, you know, you don't screen your tanks, they all get tagged. So that's the first point, my first counterpoint to the naysayers. Second point is, if you want to do that where you're turning up with all those tanks, you're spending a shit ton of CP. Okay, you're spending at least 3 CP to take a spearhead if you want to get your 3 tank commanders, or yeah, I mean that's at least, right? You're going to get your 1 battalion for free, which is 1 of your tank commanders. You've got to spend 3 CP on your support, on your spearhead. So you've already spent at least 3 CP. Okay, then you upgrade your 3 other tank commanders, your veteran Lehman Russes. That's another 3 CP at least. Okay, so you're already starting this game off with like 6 CP. And then you want to take the Perfector's Command Tank as well. That's another 2 CP. So you're going to spend 8 CP pre-game. Yeah, you could do it. You're going to spend 8 CP pre-game on a list that has no screening and will get bad touched on the first turn if the enemy goes first. It's good luck to you. You might catch 1 or 2 people unawares, but you turn up to a tournament like this, you're going to get re-educated really quickly. Okay, so that's the first thing. And the second thing, the points, you know, screening and your CP thing as well. Okay, what's more than likely people will do is they would turn up with either, you know, continue with 3 tank commanders, or they'll turn up with 2 tank commanders, maybe a couple of battalions, and like a squadron of veteran Lehman Russes. Okay, fine. You've got 5, you know, you've got your 5 vehicles with Bliss Skill 3+. So what? Those vehicles have got no more durable. Eradicators turn up and they will pop a Lehman Russ each a turn. Pop. Under the current circumstances, that'll be all your tank commanders dead. At least under these circumstances, you've got 2 tanks left over, which can still hit on 3+ and actually do something. So there you go. That's the first option. You increase the damage output. Okay? Second option, and I would not do both of these, for the sake of balance, I wouldn't do both of these whole hog. Okay? So the second option is you increase the unit's durability. Okay? Now the reason why increasing the durability is important is because, one, it doesn't feel, you know, quite as bad when your main battle tank doesn't get blown off the table in a heartbeat. Feels good when it can take a bit of a punch. Feels a bit scrappy. We like that. So that's the first point. Second point is if a unit is durable, it stays around for longer, obviously, which means by just natural being on the board longer, it's going to do more damage. You know, if the Lehman Russ has a good chance of surviving 3 or 4 turns of the game, and it's going to kill, like we sort of said, like 10 tactical marines over the course of that game, that's kind of fair enough, right? If you're paying about 200 points for your tank, 180 points for your tank, and it has over the course of the game a good chance of killing the equivalent of 10 tactical marines, which will be going up to 18 points each. That's balanced. It has the ability to at least break even on its points. Good. That's a good thing. So you increase its balance. You increase its balance. You increase its durability. Now this is trickier. I don't necessarily have all the answers for this one. All right. I think the ballistic skill one via CP is an established route that is relatively easy for players to get their heads around, and is an easy way of giving the player the option, of literally putting the cards out in front of them and saying, you decide whether you want to pick these cards up or not. You're not forcing players to maybe pay points for special rules that aren't that good. Okay, the player can choose to up the blitz skill, or he doesn't have to. Okay, that's why I like the first system. Second system is a bit harder. Okay, it's a bit harder. Now, I think if you're going to make a unit more drawable, you don't want to spend CP on doing that. It should be baked into the unit's special rules. Simple as that. Okay? I think if you start paying CP for like, you could spend a CP on, extra armor or something like that. And no, I think that it doesn't sit right with me. CP is meant to represent like, a veteran crew or a unique stratagem or something. Okay? So, if you're going to make it more drawable, I'd bake it into its rules. Now, the first thing that I would do is I would give the rugged construction rule to the Lehman Russes. No questions asked. If a Goliath truck has a 6-up feel no pain, then for the love of God, a Lehman Russ should have at least a 6-up feel no pain. I wouldn't give it a 5 feel no pain. I think that makes it too drawable. I think a 5 feel no pain you start encroaching on the territory of of the Death Guard and stuff like that. You don't want to be encroaching on their territory. But a 6-up feel no pain, that's kind of, that's okay. Anyone who has an army that has 6-up feel no pains knows that fishing for 6s, 5 feel no pain, is it's not a strategy to rely upon. I've played Genes to the Cool. I've tried the whole take the 6-up invulnerable save guys and combine it with the 6-up feel no pain banner. And let me tell you, you're just fishing for 6 all game, and it rarely pays out. It just rarely does. I know statistically it should do, but look, I played many games that combo. Maybe it's my luck, but all I'm saying is that fishing for 6s is never a strategy to rely upon. Okay, people aren't taking Sister of the Battle, Argent Shroud because they've got a 6 of feel no pain. They're taking that. That's a bonus, but they're taking it because it ignores the AP. Okay, so I would give Lehman Russ the 6 of feel no pain. I just give them the rugged construction rule. Just give it to them. It's there. You've already got it. Just take it and put it in. That's the first thing I'd do. The second thing I would do is have an ability that allows it to reduce damage. So currently, Space Marine Dreadnoughts are getting the Duty Eternal rule baked in. It allows them to reduce all damage by 1. I think that's a great idea. Now I would either take that and apply it straight to a Dreadnought, to a Lehman Russ, if just like for like, or because then you've got Venerable Dreadnoughts which have a 6 of feel no pain and a Duty Eternal. Why not have a Lehman Russ that can do the same thing? Venerable Dreadnoughts can take a missile launcher and 2 las cannons, and they are cheaper than a Lehman Russ. So a Lehman Russ, whose main battle cannon is going to be doing something similar, but obviously only hitting obelisk skill 4+ in this scenario, because you do either the firepower or you do the durability, should have that baked in. Or I'm not happy, but I would accept a 6 of feel no pain and the ability to reduce all, take a damage off, reduce damage by 1 on the roll of a 4+. Okay? Just on a 4+, you can reduce the damage of that by 1. Easy, you got 6 of feel no pain and you've got that rule. Okay. Another thing that I wouldn't necessarily apply all 3 of these. Might start getting a little bit, not ideal. But the other thing I would do is I would consider start applying the whole, the sort of Valhallan trait to vehicles where you count the number of wounds and you double it for the purpose of determining what profile you're on. I would consider adding that to Lehman Russ as well, with representing that this thing, no matter how much you slam into it, is going to keep grinding, keep going. Even the Tau, unless they're bringing out railguns in the fluff, they struggle to get through that guard armor. It is thick armor, and it's why guard players and guard in the fluff, are really worried about the rail cannon, because it's one of the few weapons that can one pop a Lehman Russ. That's a very unusual situation. So they're the 3 durability things that I would introduce. I'd introduce a rugged construction rule, I would introduce a Duty Eternal style rule, and I would introduce a bracketing, reducing bracketing rule. They're some of the things I would do, straight up. Okay? Now, There's some other little bits that's how I would fix the fluff for the Lehman Russ. By fluff I mean the narrative break where everyone turns up with tank commanders. That's one way of doing it. So I would make the basic Lehman Russ more durable, more desirable by giving it the ability to take some sort of veteran tank crew, and that's how I would suggest you potentially increase its durability. Now, I would do either all of the damage ballistic skill increases, or do all of the durability ones, or I would do half and half. Okay, I wouldn't do all and all. That would just make the Lehman Russ crazy, silly, powerful. Okay, we're trying to be balanced here. So I would either, if you're going to do half and half, I would keep the tank commander limiting rule, help with the fluff, and I would keep, but I would keep the veteran tank crew. You can make 3 Lehman Russes a veteran tank crew. Keep that one, and just do something else with the Lord Commissar tank one. If you really don't want to give the Lord Commissar tank with skill 3+, just say you can, you just say you can select any tank. You could make a tank commander, a Lord Commissar tank, or a Prefectus command tank, and just give it to either make it a 1 CP stratagem, or make it 2 CP, but it lets you reroll your leadership, or you can only ever lose 1 from leadership, or give it a buff. Anyway, different video, that one. So if I was to combine the two ideas, durability and firepower, I'd say limit tank commanders, but let you take a squadron of veteran tanks. That way you still have the chance to turn up with like 3 or 4 or 5 good Lehman Russes. And then I would have the rugged construction and the duty of turner rule. I think if you're going to balance it, if I had to sacrifice something, I'd have the Order of Prefectus command tank stay shit, and I wouldn't bother with, and I'd let the Valhallans keep their unique trait. Okay, and I would have it so you can have veteran tank crews who've got a 6-up feel no pain and reduced damage by 1, so they're a bit more durable, and you have the ability not to rely on 3 tank commanders. And that's how I would do it. That's how I would personally fix the Lehman Russ. Now, in terms of like vehicle upgrades, do something with the auger array that's not totally wank is one. Spending a CP to remove cover for 1 for like 1 turn. No, make the auger array cost like 15 points, and to say you ignore cover all the time. Simple as that. Okay, or make it cost 25 points or 20 points, and say you get ballistic skill 3+ all the time. That's how you do it. Okay. I'd also, in terms of vehicle upgrades, won't go fully down this yet, but I'd get way more creative with them camo netting. Vehicle upgrades could be a really good way of being able to pay points to either make your vehicle more durable or more killy. That's another way of doing it. Okay, but we'll go into that in another video. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. I'm well up for all your ideas. They're just some that I came up with while sort of musing on the follies of mankind, contemplating the follies of mankind. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you agree with those ideas? Or do you think that they don't go far enough? Do you think they go too far? My idea with those suggestions was to try and get something that is not totally ridiculous and over the top. Something that would make Guard players feel better, like it's a veteran tank group, it's not all tank commanders, and it allows me to keep power in my tank army, because Metz Guard at the moment is struggling, and it also means that the opposing player can look at your army and he's not like, oh, 3 tank commanders, how original. It's like, oh no, cool, veteran tank crew, cool, very, very cool. I'm more than happy for Games Workshop to introduce some kind of restrictions in terms of modelling. Like, if you're going to take a veteran tank crew, you've got to have at least like a transfer. You should really, really get into it, but the bare minimum should be like a transfer, or like a trophy, or like a flag, or a paint scheme, or a kill count. You've just got to put the equivalent of like 10 minutes extra work into that vehicle. Same with the Order Prefectus command tank. Make it a good stratagem. But just be like, you know what, if you're going to say it's Order Prefectus command tank, it's got to paint it black. It's got to have a commissar sticking out the top. You know, I'm happy for them to do that. Nothing totally crazy. We don't start making modelling restrictions on everything. But they used to say, back in the old 4th edition Guard Codex, if you're going to take Xenos Hunters, you've got to have Orc Skulls on there or something. They used to do it, so there is precedent for it. Some people might think that's awful and they don't want to be told how to model their units. I'm not saying Games Workshop should dictate how you model it. I'm just saying I'd be open to the idea of them introducing that a little bit into it, just to add a little bit more crunch, a little bit more fluff, a little bit more narrative. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Rip me to shreds or say that was a mildly okay idea. I don't mind at all, guys. I just can't wait to read all the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.